Hey guys, and welcome to another hobby news. So this week, it's looking like a pretty jam-packed week. We've got a whole bunch of stuff coming, and maybe some controversial picks as well. But yeah, there's a little bit to go through, I guess. So why don't we just get on right to it? So we're here on the Warhammer community page. They've shown us some stuff to look at, and one of them very I guess obvious, but we'll go into it. Won't mess around. We'll come down here. So we've got some Soulblight stuff, but then it's the type of Soulblight stuff that they're gonna be releasing and for pre-order. So if we just come down, we'll come back to all this stuff, but we'll come down here and have a look. And we got these. Yep, that's great. That's great. And then bam, we see that as we thought, even though this is by order, it looks like, or that thing that they do, but it looks like we're seeing the Cursed City stuff coming out like we always thought they would. So whatever went wrong with the Cursed City stuff is obviously not to do with the molds or their kits or anything like that. It's obviously something else, something to do with maybe printing in China or whatever, some kind of thing, taxes, import, export, whatever. It's got nothing to do with the actual models because they're all made in Nottingham, like in their warehouse or whatever. So looks like we'll be seeing those, which is cool. I'm glad that they're releasing them. That's great. A lot of people will want them. I think the timing's a little bit off, or at least they could have handled because none of the models were. Obviously they can release them. It feels a little strange that they couldn't release a statement for fear of, whatever their share price, whatever, considering that they can actually release them and it's only some sort of, budgeting technicality that's stopping them from continuing to support Cursed City. I think they could have made a statement, one that would have satisfied the community, even just a very, very minor one would have helped and smooth things over. And so then people wouldn't, because I've heard one person comment like, all those people that bought this up, like scalpers and stuff, to sell it all really expensive online in pieces, and people would have rushed out to grab some of these models, and now seeing this finally being added as a way to get it legitimately, and obviously this will be cheaper than buying it for extortionate prices online, they're going to be a little bit pissed off, I think. So yeah, I think they could have handled this, a million times better, and I think that's a bit of a shame. However, it is nice to see these models come out and that we can get access to them, which is great, right? It means that we'll all end up having a chance to paint them, do what we want with them. So that's cool. That's cool. So now I'll come back to the top and we'll get back into it. I just wanted to get that out of the way right off the start because obviously, yeah, that's a little bit controversial. I might have a bit of a talk about stuff like that in the hobby chats, and we'll have a bit of a talk about it. But in this is more just dedicated to new and upcoming things that are happening. So I don't want to get too controversial with my observations on this particular segment, but we'll go through it anyway. So we've got a few releases here. We've got Admech coming for 40k, and obviously the Soulblight stuff for pre-order. So let's go down. Most of this article here, I think, has most of the Soulblight stuff, and then we've got another one here that we'll take a look at for Admech, which shows some of the rules, some of the stratagems and stuff like that, which all look pretty cool. I haven't really gone through it. I like to keep this fresh, so I haven't had a close look at this stuff. Just had a brief overview. So let's go down and take a look. All right, so this was over the weekend, as we can see, 16th of May. We hope you're sitting comfortably as we have quite a preview ahead of us. If you need to, feel free to grab yourself a cup of tea. Yeah, English. Yep, got it. And treat yourself to a biscuit. Yeah. Ready? Okay. Good, let's crack on then. And what better way to start than with a traditional video? Yeah, we're not going to watch that. Okay, where have we got the goodies? Okay, here we go, Gravelords. So yeah, they're up for pre-order. What better way to begin your reinforcement with a Soulblight Gravelords collection? We've got the starter collecting box. Okay, so in this one, we've got the Grave Guard, which I think are still old models, and then we've got the Black Knights here and the White Lord, or the I guess the White Hero on Steed, and that's a cool model. I'm not sure what the rules are like for these guys. From what I've seen online, other people are talking about this. The Black Knights and this white character aren't that great competitively, I guess. Maybe for just casual games, they're okay, but it looks like the Blood Knights are looking like the winners compared to these. However, the Graveguard are always good, and I would imagine that most people are going to be running them, so nothing new there. So that's not bad, but I guess it's like hot and cold, you know? Half of it is kind of cool, the other half is more just for your collection and more just for painting, because I do like all these. I think these are all really cool, but I don't know how much play they're actually going to get. You might get a bit disappointed with, you know, how they actually run on the table, but they are a cool bunch. I don't know what kind of value you're getting here, as I'm new back into the hobby again after a bit of hiatus. I'm not sure the price you're looking here, but yeah, it looks like about average price, you know, from what I can tell. I feel like you're probably getting an average discount, like, you know, not the best one that's out there, but not the worst either. So yeah, but not too bad. I don't think it's the best one to buy, because you're probably not going to want to use half the box, you know? That's probably not going to be in many people's lists. Even casual gaming lists are going to find it hard to play some of this stuff, except for the Graveguard. That'll be cool. So yeah, I don't know about that one. That's kind of like a mixed bag. But for me, Soulblights, which I'll go on to as we go through this, for me feels a bit like a mixed bag for me. I'm a big Undead player and have been for years, since, you know, fantasy ages ago. And for me, this book doesn't really, from what I've seen anyway, doesn't really hit the mark on either angle. Whether you're a vampire, you know, enthusiast, you love the vampire stuff, or you're like me, a necromancer sort of player, and you like the magic of the necromancer stuff and all of that, and the summoning and all that kind of that side of the undead army. In both cases, it feels like they might have fallen short. It doesn't quite satisfy either camp. In terms of the models, they're great. Like the sculptors and artists all did an amazing job. I think they're a great bunch of models, and so in terms of look and feel, they managed to hit the mark. But it doesn't really translate in the rules from what I've seen. It feels a bit soft. It feels like they could have just pushed it a little further. It's almost like they've just missed out on an opportunity to really go into some really interesting territory with these vampires and these bloodlines. They could have really pushed them a lot further. And the fact that there's no high level necromancers in the list at all, or any real high level magic casters really in any of them, as far as I can tell. Might be wrong, but I can't see many like strong ones. So you can't really do that magic build. You can't really do that kind of necromantic kind of thing. And obviously they've halved the amount of models that come back from like summoning and stuff like that, from what I can see. So you're not quite getting that type of undead army anymore. And so I'm assuming that if you want that now, you're probably going to have to go to OBR, like Ossiarch Bone Reapers, or even for me, the way I see it is actually, now that if you're looking at this compared to something like Flesh Eater Courts to me feel like they're playing like a traditional undead army a lot more than what this army is, even though this one has all the traditional stuff in it, and you know, Flesh Eaters don't. They seem to be playing in a style that's more akin to an older style of play. So, you know, their muster abilities and stuff seem like they're actually summoning more models or more valuable models than what the Gravelords can. So I don't know. It feels like if you really want an undead army, you want to go for Flesh Eater Courts, because that's going to give you that. And those muster abilities, as far as I know, you can't block. So even though they have, you know, relatively weak magic, they do have this ability to summon back stuff. And so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, mixed feelings about all this, but I think there's definitely room for these guys. I think they'll be fun to play for the most part, but they do feel a little bit soft. That's the Soulblight book. So, yeah, I don't know. But Flesh Eater Courts are looking like a really good option. You know, you got to also consider that this is coming out right at the beginning of AOS 3, which means that if it's a soft book now, it's not unlikely, it's going to be hard to contend with the new books as they release, unless they've made them all like this, which I doubt. You know, a year in, you know, those poor death players are going to be struggling to play games, even casually. You're going to be really falling behind if they don't have anything really meaty to get them over the line. Because for me personally, I like to see, like, it's not that I like power creep and that sort of thing, but you do want to see stronger books or things spike a bit, because what it does is it gives you a range, and that helps to that actually sort of helps to the designers anyway to come back in and reevaluate stuff, you know, through FAQs and so on. But if you've designed the book from its core to be quite soft and quite poor as a book, you know, that's the structure. If that isn't right, then no amount of FAQs and tweaking is going to bring them up, you know. So I'd rather them come out strong and come out a bit too heavy, and then you can tone it back a bit, and that way they're still competitive and still able to be played well, than have a book that's really below the line and then sort of say, oh, well, it's good because it's balanced and it fits in the middle and, you know, the fat middle or whatever. So I don't know. I think I prefer them to come out of the gate a little bit stronger, and then we can move. Then you can move it around. You got more wiggle room, basically. So they're just my early thoughts on this. So I don't want to go too much in that because we're going to not see any of the new cool stuff. But for all those undead players, I'd say be looking for, you know, Ossiarch Bone Reapers or Flesh Eater Courts for your future, because at least for a more competitive play, I guess, because the Vampire Soulblight don't look like they're going to give you what you're after. And even if you're a classic undead player, I feel like either of the other two death armies is probably going to be better, or a mixed death. A mixed death list might actually end up being the best choice. So you can build a list that feels a bit more like an old school undead army. But anyway, that's my thoughts on that. So let's move further along. So we've got them coming. We've obviously got the Direwolves. Yeah, they're all really cool. They're going to satisfy a lot of different players, you know, from Space Wolf players that want to muck around and convert some of this stuff. Although these are pretty undead, but you can do a lot of stuff with these. So I can see these being used in a lot of different, you know, armies and variety of ways. So they're really cool. And then we've got this old lady with the wolf feet, so she's coming. That's cool. Like, she's a really nice model, even just to paint up. And I actually really like these wolves. It's kind of funny, like, I wouldn't have minded seeing some of these kind of big wolves mixed in, you know, a little bit less undead and more sort of vicious style, maybe as the champion or something, like one of the big ones or whatever, you know, just to lead them, like a big black one, you know. That might be really cool, but, you know, they didn't do it quite that way. However, it's still really cool. It's nice to see, you know, a different type just somewhere in the army, which is nice for variety. So she's cool. And then we've seen this before. This is a great model, you know, really beautiful. As I said, when I first reviewed this, I can see tons of Demon Prince conversions from this model. That a lot of Chaos players are going to be happy this thing exists, because it definitely is a vast improvement as a base to convert off from, you know, everyone's favorite plastic kit. That one definitely has seen its time, and it's good to see a better structure to work off. I can see a lot of different conversions coming off of this. So yeah, for those of us that like to convert stuff, that's going to be pretty cool. So down we come, and then we have the controversial pick. All right, so now, as far as I'm aware, this little sign means that it's only by order or something like that. Is that right? Only obviously online, and only by order, I think, is how that works. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's something like that. So I don't think we're going to see them in stores or anything like that, judging by that arrow sign, or at least not initially. But yeah, you will be. It looks like you will be able to get access to them, which is good. This one here is especially cool because I think every Flesh Eater Courts player will be wanting one of these and running them as a Varghul for whatever, you know, the Smash Bat. Everyone knows about that list that plays Flesh Eater Courts at least. And this looks like a great contender for that sort of character model to convert and use as one of those. I'm definitely thinking about doing it because it's a great model. It's really cool, and I'm glad you can get access to it. And the rest of them are all cool too. I like all these little models. They're all really good. Not that I'll use them for anything else other than painting them, but definitely this guy's going to see some play for sure. So yeah, that's all cool. This is a nice model. We'll come down. And the Vampire Rat King guy, he's cool, you know. yeah, I don't know. His rules, from the look of it, a bit gimmicky, and he doesn't seem like he's going to be very useful to you. That's another thing. A lot of these vampires, as far as I'm aware, don't have any magic ability. So, you know, it's kind of they're a bit useless for an undead army that's meant to be, you know, that's like an intrinsic part, that they're all meant to be magic users, but they're not. So I don't really understand why they don't have at least a spell or something. But yeah, just a different design direction, I guess. Yeah, it's a bit sad for me, because like I was like, oh wow, this is gonna be great, we're gonna be able to play undead again, and now it looks like, at least not in this version of undead anyway, I won't be doing it. But they're great models, so it's sad that they don't have the rules to match it. But anyway, but definitely a cool model to paint up. And same for this one, this kind of, you know, Disney princess, whatever she is, kind of cool, you know, the sort of dark Disney. But yeah, it's very, very nice. It's very elegant, you know, very stylized kind of look for a vampire. Yeah, very cool. So they're all coming. And then we've got obviously some underworld stuff. So this is really interesting, I think, mostly from the fact that I think other people have talked about this, but they've got as far as I know, these guys don't have any archers or anything like that, and we see one up here. So the future for the Osak Bone Reapers looks really cool, and I think a lot of Death players are going to be probably end up playing these rather than the Grave Lords for a lot of reasons. Even right now, just because they're going to play in more phases of the game, and they're going to be a bit more flexible, and, you know, as far as I'm aware, that they've got some units that get some pretty good armor saves, and, you know, a little bit tougher and so on, and their magic obviously I think is a little bit better. As far as I know anyway, they've been competitive in the past, so someone can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I feel like these will be the way to go if you're looking to play Death, just because they're going to be a bit more, just in terms of just pure gaming, because they're going to have more options, more styles of play. As I said, you've got more unit types that can play in different phases of the game. You've got war machines. You've got what looks like you might even end up with some sort of archer unit of some sort. So that's all really awesome for these guys. And I think that, and this is just a great model. How good is that model? So, you know, even just to paint that is really cool. And I'll probably be picking one of these up just for this guy. But yeah, interesting days to come for AOS 3, and, you know, hopefully they drop somewhere in the middle of the run, you know, maybe in a year's time, because that'll give the edition a chance to move on. It'll allow those books, when they come out, to be, you know, adequately competitive, you know, and they won't suffer as much if they're coming about a year on, because, you know, about a 3-year cycle, a year on, you get about 2 years worth of play before it changes again. That's not too bad. So that's what I'm hoping for, somewhere in about a year, maybe, you know, 8 to 12 months time, see a release, or maybe a bit over 12 months. That's fine. That'd be really cool. So yeah, that's all looking good. And then coming down, and now we move into the 40k stuff. So this is all like brand new. Adeptus Mechanicus, pretty damn cool army. I've never played them. When I was playing last, you know, before I stopped, you couldn't actually, these were all just like, this wasn't an actual army you could play. So yeah, and everyone always wished that it was, and, you know, and they finally listened and made one, so that's really cool. And all the battle reports that I've seen, you know, these look really, really fun to play. Some pretty crazy units that can do a lot of damage, but overall, like a great modeling project, you know, like so many different ways you can convert them, and interesting sculpts that you can do stuff with. So that's really cool that they're coming. So I think they'll be coming out for pre-order this coming week, or like by the time this video releases, I guess this coming Saturday or something like that, the weekend, I think, since these are all the pre-orders that are coming. So that's really cool, which means it's coming out soon. And yeah, you get the usual limited edition version and then the standard. Yeah, all looking really good. And then we've got the cards. That's all good. And dice. Never really been a fan of these. I still play with the original old school Games Workshop dice, the little white ones, you know, and the red and black, you know, the colored ones. I prefer a slightly smaller size. So for me, these sort of big dice aren't quite what I'm after, but if you like them, that's great. You know, they're a little bit easier to read this time. They don't have all the crazy weird patterns and stuff on them, which is really good. That'll be at least easy to play with. So that's nice. And now we see the starter box. So yeah, this is looking not too bad, I guess. I can't remember what the last one looked like, but Yeah, I can't see why you wouldn't like this. This has stuff that I think every Adeptus list is going to use, at least in some degree. So yeah, it features a Tech Breach Engine Seer, a Dune Crawler, and these Cataphron Destroyers, and a squad of 10 Scutari. Okay, so yeah, all good as far as I can tell. I mean, any battle report I've seen has all used these in some capacity, so I can't say that it's a problem. I don't know what the value's like, but it seems okay. Probably a bit less, I'm feeling like, maybe. Doesn't seem as many models in the pack, so maybe it's a little bit, depending on how much this thing is. But yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It's not wowing me because there's nothing kind of fresh in there that's like totally new as far as I can see, unless one of these little guys is new, but I don't think so. So yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I think for these Admech players, they'd be more interested in the codex than anything else. So I mean, yeah, fresh new models are great, but I think the rules is what everyone will be looking for mostly with this one, apart from like the few models that are coming. So I know this is new. Yeah, pretty cool model. I like it. It's very reminiscent of like old school art, you know, like that John Blanche stuff or things like that, with these sort of like just this shape of this helmet here and this sort of Romanesque, I guess, style headdress. You know, that's kind of, it feels like this is coming out of there must be an artwork that has this guy in it like that, or some old artwork that this is like drawing inspiration from, because it's really what it feels like. It feels like one of those old school 80s, 90s kind of images. But yeah, pretty cool model. If you're into Admech, I think these are, you know, you're definitely going to pick this guy up even just to paint him. Pretty cool. Yeah, his details here, the helmet, it's a really interesting, you know, almost very 80s 90s kind of look to that helmet there. I could see some conversions, chop that off and use that for a whole bunch of other things. Like you could use this sort of thing on like an Iron Warriors character or something like that. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, a lot of cool uses for a lot of the parts on this guy. I think could be great conversions. So that's all good. And what else we got? Okay, then we've got some stuff that I guess maybe was meant to come out before and is only coming out now. This feels like this should have already been out, but apparently not. So the Drukhari Lilith is coming for pre-order, so you buy her individually rather than in that big box that she was in. So that's cool for all your you know, Dark Elder players out there. That's cool. She's a nice model. Yeah, a little bit, maybe her feet are a bit big, but apart from that, everything else feels about right. Yeah, pretty cool. And then we've got I didn't realize there was still Necrons that didn't come out yet, so it looks like there are. So we've got finally what's this? So we've got a Cryomancer and the Flayed Ones. Yeah, I thought all of this stuff would have been out, although this looks like, let's have a look. So the Necrons are all have reinforcements inbound next week in the form of Cryomancer and Flayed Ones. Previously only available, okay, so it was only available in the Pry Nexus, so now we're getting this individually. So you can now just pick up what you want. So that's cool. That's good that they're getting that. And they're nice models, so that's all good. We've seen that before. And then we're seeing the same thing again, I think, for these. So these must have only come in that Kill Team box as well, so you'll be able to get them individually, which is nice. Yeah, that's going to be these are the heavy intercessors, aren't they? Yeah, so that's going to change the meta a lot once these things get out, I think. That'll be interesting to see how it goes. But yeah, cool. And then we've got some combat patrols. Okay, so it looks like this is new. We've got looks like an updated one for Necrons and Space Marines. So yeah, what's new in here? I think it's just a different composition. That is new, right? I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's new. So, yeah. I think there was a different bunch of stuff, different composition from the last one. That's not bad. That's not bad if you're doing like a more, scouty sort of style force like that. That would be kind of cool, right? With the snipers in there and all that kind of stuff. I don't know how awesome that is because this kind of composition isn't used much, so I'm not sure whether that's the best box for Space Marines, but it's still nice. Like I like all the models that are in there, so it'll still be fun to paint. And you get a decent amount in there. And same for this isn't bad. This is probably decent for Necrons. You're probably going to use everything that's in here. Yeah, all good really. I don't have much more to say on that. That's all pretty cool. And then Black Library, got some books. Yeah, Dark Imperium, that's great. Another one there. Yeah, they're all really cool if you're into the books. I haven't read much of these new ones, but I'm sure they're cool. So that's nice. And yeah, some sort of, what's this? I guess a limited edition book here. I don't know what this is, but anyway, it says, okay, next, no, it doesn't really say what that is. Okay, so yeah, we're looking pretty good there. And then obviously their stuff for their Warhammer Live. So that's cool. And now finally, this is going a bit long, so now finally let's go across to the Admech stuff for their stratagems and so on, and just take a little look. So we'll come down here, just have a little bit of a squiz at what's going on. So the Adeptus Mechanicus Codex up for pre-order this coming Saturday, but we couldn't wait to tell you about some of the updated rules for the major Forge Worlds. Okay, cool. So we're going to get like themed, I guess, you know, similar to like what's been happening with all the books. So you're going to probably have, you know, a unique item, you know, stratagem, like warlord trait, that sort of thing for each one of these, maybe, you know, one for each. We'll take a look, but that's all good. That's pretty standard with what's been happening with the books so far. Yep, if you're thinking of starting an army, this is a good way to prime yourself. Yeah, all good. Let's have a look. So we've got Mars. All right, so let's see. I'll pause this here so you can have a little look. I won't go too much through the strategy of this because I haven't actually played against any Admech at all. I've been playing against Guard and so on, so I'm not really sure how these guys play really. I've only watched games of it, so I'm not quite sure how good a lot of these are going to be, but I'll just leave that for you to have a read. I won't sort of go too heavily into it, but yeah, I mean, let's see, we've got like, yeah, I'll just leave that for you to take a look at. We'll come down. Yeah, so it looks like they've got a couple of different stratagems here. So we've got one there, and then we've got what looks like their item. And let's take a look. Yeah, so +2 strength, -5 AP. That looks pretty good, and 2 damage. So who's that for? Models equipped with a Omnissiah axe only. So I guess this is probably for just your like HQ choices, I would say. I don't know whether their elites have this weapon as well, but that's a nice buff depending on what else they've got in the army. So that's pretty cool. So I guess this is more your damage style list, I guess. And then coming down, we've got the Lucius. So Solar Blessing. This looks like the range guys from what it looks like. Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, I'm not going to go through all this. I'm just going to slowly scroll through it. You can pause the video if you want to check it out. But all looks pretty cool here. What else we've got? Agrippina, I guess, is what that is. So what are these? Under constant threat for a century due to their proximity to the Eye of Terror. The armies of this one are famed for their grim resolve. Okay, so this is like more your attrition, I guess, army. So that's cool. We've got a couple of, we've got their stratagem and I guess their doctrine or whatever. That's cool. And an item. Let's see. This would be a good contender for like a Dark Mechanicus force, right? Like one that's turned. If they're near the Eye of Terror, that'd be pretty cool. You could do these as like that'd be the way I'd do it if I was going to do Admech. I'd just be doing everything chaos. You know, I love it. Love a good, you know, good papa, you know, good Nurgle army. And yeah, I definitely would see some good opportunities here for that. So that's cool. And then we've got Greya. I don't know how to say that. But anyway, these are all pretty cool. So you got a whole range here. As I said, you can pause this and take a look. I'm not going to discuss this in depth because I just don't know enough about this army to really give good feedback on that. And then Stygies. I think these are all in the previous book. There might be one or two that aren't, but looks like they're giving you quite a lot. This feels a bit like the Death Guard book. So you seem to have like quite a few, you know, almost companies or styles that you can play with enough range and variety in there. Yeah, it looks almost identical to that style where you're picking one and going for that. I would imagine that your detachment has to all be of one type. Yeah, looks all pretty good. RZA, okay, so we're not Wu-Tang here, but you know, it's looking pretty good. We've got what are these guys? So let's see what they say they are. While nearly all other Forge Worlds adhere to the near sacred red, white, and black. Okay, blah, blah, blah. That's not really very interesting. They also relish close... Okay, so this is more your combat base. Okay, so close-up combat. Yeah, I don't know how well that would play with Admech. I think your shooting is probably the higher pick, right? The thing that's the best. These robots here are usually the ones that are the big damage dealers in the army. So, yeah, I'm not sure whether you would be wanting to play a close combat. I guess you'd want to try it out. It'd be fun. But they've got a few things here. I'll just slowly go through it. And then Metallica, which is another hilarious name. All right, so it depends on which side of the fence you're on, whether you agree with that name, for those that are into the heavy metal. So let's see, what is this one? So another Forge World with unusual library. Yep, okay. But what's their style? So yeah, heavy machinery. All right, so maybe these are like more the robot guys. That'd be cool. So we'll see. Just coming down here. Yeah, Relentless March. Okay. So yeah, possibly to do with more the robot stuff. That's cool. Yeah, it looks like it. So we've got an image here. That's their style. Yep, sounds good. And then coming down, it looks like that's all of them. Yep, and then we've got custom Forge Worlds. Okay, cool. So it looks like you'll be able to do your own as well, a bit like Space Marines, from the sounds of it. Yeah, so thematic options to choose from to make your own. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So it looks like they'll have a similar kind of setup, maybe like Space Marine book, where you can kind of make your own chapter, which would be really nice. That's always good. More options. For me in a book, I don't worry too much about balance. What I want is options. You know, I don't mind, as I said before, I don't mind if books spike and become a bit too strong initially, because they always end up getting pegged back in anyway. But what I want to see is as many choices as possible to give you as many play styles. It doesn't even have to be model range in terms of lots of models, just enough variety of compositions that are in the book to make it a viable choice so that you get more gameplay out of it. You don't want to just play the same thing over and over and over again, you know? That to me is really where it's at, like just adding as much variety and choice to have as many of the units viable as possible, and to give you as many different compositions as possible so that you can have as much fun as you can out of the book for the few years that it's around until the next one, right? So that's, I think, where it's at, and it looks like this has a ton of variety in it. From the outside looking in, that's what it looks like. So hopefully that is true, and that it does actually give you a lot of choice, and that'll I think please you a lot more than just having a really strong book or a few units that are broken or whatever. I think just having more options to play more game styles is definitely what you want, for all levels of gameplay, whether it's narrative, just casual, or competitive casual, or you're actually going to tournaments and competing. In all those cases, options is always better, at least in my opinion. So that's cool. So we've got a few here. Okay, so yeah, so you'll have like primary series. So it's going to be very, very similar to Space Marine Codex. So you're going to have your kind of, I guess, doctrines or whatever, super doctrines, whatever you want to call them, and they'll affect the whole army, it looks like. So that's cool. Yeah, really nice. All right, so that's it. This has gone a bit long, I guess, but we'll leave it on this little nice image here. But yeah, thanks for listening, and I hope this has been somewhat informative and hasn't waffled on too long. But otherwise, yeah, I guess we'll see how it all goes when these release. As I said, I think Soulblights, yeah, are you know, they're a middle of the road, like fun army. But I feel like if you're looking for a slightly more competitive play, I'd be waiting out for the Osark Bone Reapers and the Flesh Eater Courts, because I feel like they're in a prime position to probably take advantage of AOS 3 more so than Soulblight, just because of the nature of when it's released, and now that we've seen the book, where it's placed in the pack. You know, we're looking at the very beginning of a new edition, and it's not coming out super strong. Yeah, a little bit of a shame, but I still love, in terms of the model range, they're all awesome, and I'll still probably collect them and paint them, but it's unlikely I'd probably want to do like a mixed death list if I was going to do stuff and just muck around with whatever I feel gives me that feeling of an old school undead army, basically, and then I would probably play them. And in terms of Admech, they all look great. I'm seriously considering a Dark Mechanicus army, because like it'd be so much fun to convert these guys. I feel like they're just primed for some chaos conversions. But anyway, if you're a true Admech fan or whatever, I'm sorry, but yeah, chaos is calling. So otherwise, yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. Please hit that subscribe button, like button, all that stuff, because it really helps me out. But otherwise, I guess I'll catch you on the next one.